A city of lights, where dreams are sold on every street corner, where laughter hides behind champagne glasses, and where love once changed everything. 35 years ago, an unlikely romance broke all the rules and captured the hearts of millions. But time never stops. People grow older, choices are made, and the story that once felt complete still has whispers left streets of Beverly Hills shine brighter than ever. Yet beneath the glow lies a silence only the heart can hear. Edward, the man once caught between money and meaning, has built a life filled with success. The offices are taller, the cars faster, and the empire larger, but the question that follows him into every empty room is simple. What is it all worth without the one person who made it feel alive? His silver hair now carries the weight of years, but in his eyes there is a spark, a memory that refuses to fade. Vivian's laugh, her presence, the way she once transformed his world from a cold deal to a warm promise, it lingers like a song he can't forget. Vivian, on the other hand, no longer walks the streets where her story began. She carved her own path, fought for her own name, and built a future that was hers alone. She is no longer the girl who needed saving. She is the woman who learned how to save herself. Fashion lines bear her mark, charities flourish under her guidance, and young women look to her as proof that even the most unexpected beginnings can lead to greatness. Yet, when the nights are quiet and the city softens to a hum, she too feels that echo. A moment in time when love felt so pure, so unexpected, that it changed her forever. The world has moved forward, yet fate has its own rhythm. Paths that once parted begin to draw closer once more. A chance meeting, not in a hotel, not in a limousine, but somewhere ordinary, unplanned, almost cruel in its timing. Eyes that once looked at each other with fire now meet with the silence of years apart. Neither of them planned for this moment, and yet it arrives with a force they cannot ignore. Edward speaks less now, every word weighed down by regret. Vivian listens with the grace of someone who has lived, who has endured, but inside her heart stirs like the young woman who once dared to believe in fairy tales. They stand across from each other, strangers in a world that once belonged only to them. Time has changed them, but the pull is still there, raw and undeniable. The city does not notice. The cars still race down wide boulevards, the lights still blink above crowded sidewalks. But for Edward and Vivian, the noise fades away. In this collision of past and present, a question hangs heavy in the air. Can love truly survive the years, or is it destined to remain only a memory locked away in the pages of their story? For Edward, the realization is sharp. Money, success, influence, all of it means nothing if he cannot reclaim what he once lost. For Vivian, the truth is more complicated. She built a life that no longer depends on anyone else. She is strong, independent, admired. To open her heart again means risking everything she has built, everything she has become. And yet, the heart has a way of remembering what the mind tries to forget. Their story is not about starting over. It is about discovering whether love, when tested by time, still has the power to heal. The city is the same, yet they are not. And as their lives cross once more, the past whispers a dangerous promise. Some love stories never really end. The second chapter of their journey does not begin with grand gestures, but with silence. Silence in the way Edward pauses before calling her name. Silence in the way Vivian hesitates before turning to face him fully. Time has shaped them both, but some truths cannot be erased. There is a history written in their eyes, and though the years tried to bury it, the moment they are together again, the story rises to the surface. Edward, once the man of control, the negotiator who never lost, now finds himself powerless. Success no longer shields him, and the words that once came so easily falter. He tells himself he is here only by chance, yet deep inside he knows chance has nothing to do with it. Somewhere beyond logic, beyond reason, the universe has drawn them back together. Vivian feels the weight of the encounter like a spark against old wounds. She does not run, does not hide, but she stands guarded, as a woman who has learned the cost of trust. Her world is different now, filled with people who look up to her, who rely on her strength. And yet, in the shadow of Edward's gaze, she feels a version of herself she thought was gone forever. That young woman who once laughed without fear, who once believed in impossible love. The city around them does not slow, but for Edward and Vivian, time bends. A restaurant corner where they meet by accident. A charity gala where their eyes find each other across the crowd. A business meeting turned personal in ways neither of them expected. These encounters stitched together like fragments of a puzzle, building towards something larger, something inevitable. The universe is asking them to answer the question they left unfinished. What happens when the love you once let go returns? But life is never as simple as a second chance. Vivian has responsibilities, a daughter who looks to her for guidance, a life she fought to create from nothing. The daughter, sharp and ambitious, carries the fire of her mother but questions the past her mother rarely speaks of. For Edward, there are rivals, younger men who see him as a relic, a giant whose time has passed. His business empire is under threat, and the irony cuts deep. He once taught Vivian that everything could be bought. But now he is learning that some things must be earned out as they circle one another. The emotions resurface. Old laughter sneaks through guarded words. Old pain hides behind polite smiles. Edward begins to see what he lost, not just a woman, but the part of himself that was alive only when she was near. Vivian, though cautious, begins to feel the ache of what might have been, what still could be, if she dares to open the door once more. The city mirrors their struggle. Glimpses of lonely penthouses high above glass towers. Crowded sidewalks filled with strangers brushing past without ever connecting. Flashing lights against black night skies, reminding them both how fleeting life can be. Each moment feels heavier, like the world itself is pushing them toward a choice. In Edward's quiet reflection, we see a man who realizes that power is meaningless without love. In Vivian's, we see a woman who realizes that strength does not mean shutting love out, but daring to let it in again, even after heartbreak. Their story is not about finding each other, but about deciding if two people, changed by time, can still belong together. And as the music swells, as the rhythm of the trailer builds, the tension becomes undeniable. A train departing, a door almost closing, a hand reaching out but stopping short. These moments are not endings, they are promises of what lies ahead. Because love, true love, does not fade. It waits, it lingers, and sometimes it returns when you least expect it, daring you to believe once again. The city begins to shift as their story deepens. What once felt like chance meetings now starts to feel like destiny pressing against them, testing their resolve. Edward and Vivian are no longer two people simply crossing paths. They are two worlds colliding, each carrying years of choices, regrets, and scars. The silence that once lingered between them now fills with questions unspoken. What do you say to the person who once held your entire heart, then slipped away with it? Edward feels the cracks in his world widening. His business, once untouchable, is now under fire. A new generation challenges him, whispering that he is a relic of the past, too slow for the present. He fights boardrooms and headlines, but the one battle he cannot win is against the emptiness that has followed him for decades. Standing in front of Vivian again makes him realize just how hollow the victories have been. Without her, every deal was another wall, every success another cage. Vivian's life, too, is no fairy tale. For all her strength, for all her triumphs, she carries the weight of responsibility. A daughter who demands honesty. A team that depends on her vision. A legacy built from nothing, now fragile in ways few can see. She is admired, but also scrutinized. Every choice she makes feels like a headline waiting to be written. And beneath it all, there is the truth she avoids, the part of her heart that never fully healed, the unfinished chapter that Edward represents. The tension between them grows with each encounter. A charity event where Edward quietly bids on one of Vivian's projects, his presence both comforting and disruptive. A late-night conversation that begins with business and ends with silence too heavy to ignore. A stolen glance in the middle of a crowded room, where for a single second the world blurs and it feels like nothing has changed. These moments cut deeper than any argument because they remind them both of what they once had and what they still want. But love is not the only force at play. Vivian's daughter sees Edward as a ghost from the past, a threat to the future her mother has built. She questions his intentions, challenges his motives, and in her own way becomes the voice of caution that Vivian herself cannot always follow. Edward, meanwhile, faces enemies who know that his distraction could be their advantage. Rivals strike harder, shadows lengthen, and every choice he makes has consequences beyond his own heart. The story sharpens here, not just about love, but about identity. Edward is forced to ask himself if he is the man Vivian once fell in love with, or just the shadow of him. Vivian, in turn, must decide if the woman she has become still has room for the girl who once took a chance on a stranger. It is no longer about fairy tales. It is about reality, about pain, about the cost of daring to feel again. And yet, even in the darkest hours, the spark refuses to die. A piano in a quiet room, the same way it once began, now played with slower hands, older hands, but with the same longing. A laugh slipping past Vivian's guarded lips, reminding her of the joy she once felt without fear. A touch almost given, almost withdrawn, leaving the air between them electric and unbearable. The city seems to breathe with them. Neon lights flicker as if watching. Rain falls against glass towers, blurring the world outside like the blur of memory itself. Every scene is a reminder. They are not the same, but the love that binds them is timeless. The question is not whether it exists. The question is whether they are strong enough to embrace it again, even knowing the pain it once carried. This is where the story begins to tremble with urgency. The music grows louder, faster, strings pulling at the heart like hands unwilling to let go. Their lives are spinning closer together, but so are the obstacles, and time itself feels like the greatest rival. Because love is not enough on its own. It must be chosen. It must be fought for. And as Edward and Vivian edge closer to the truth, the audience feels it. The storm is coming, and their hearts will decide whether it ends in redemption or another heartbreak. The world tightens around them. Every step Edward and Vivian take feels heavier now, as if the universe itself is demanding an answer. The story is no longer about chance encounters or lingering memories. It has become a crossroads, one that will define not only who they are, but who they choose to be. The tension crackles in the air like thunder waiting to break. Edward stands at the edge of everything he has built. His empire, once untouchable, is slipping through his fingers. Younger men circle like wolves eager to devour the kingdom he carved out of steel and stone. For the first time in his life, Edward sees the truth. None of it matters. The cars, the penthouses, the endless contracts, all of it is dust compared to the warmth of a single moment with Vivian. He is a man who has conquered everything but his own heart, and he knows he has one last chance to win it back. Vivian, too, feels the weight of the choice pressing against her. She is no longer the woman waiting to be chosen. She is the woman who chooses. Her daughter's voice reminds her of the risks. Her responsibilities remind her of the cost. And yet, when she closes her eyes, she remembers the girl she once was, the girl who believed in love when the world told her it was foolish. That girl still lives inside her, and she whispers, maybe love isn't weakness, maybe it's the greatest strength of all. The city becomes a mirror of their struggle. A storm rolls over Beverly Hills, rain pouring down glass towers, streets shining like liquid silver. Crowds hurry past each other, umbrellas colliding, lights flickering, as if the city itself is trembling with anticipation. In this chaos, Edward and Vivian find themselves face to face once more. The noise of the world fades, replaced by the sound of hearts beating too loudly to ignore. Their words are few. They do not need many. Every look, every silence, carries years of longing and regret. Edward reaches out, not with the certainty of the man he once was, but with the vulnerability of a man stripped bare. Vivian hesitates, torn between the life she has built and the love she has never forgotten. It is not a question of whether they still feel it. It is a question of whether they dare to risk everything for it. The music swells, strings rising like waves crashing against the shore. Images flash in rhythm, Edward walking away from the boardroom as cameras flash behind him. Vivian's daughter watching her mother with tearful eyes, realizing love can be as brave as success. A hand slipping free of an umbrella to meet another hand in the rain. A piano playing softly in an empty room, the same notes from so many years ago. Then silence. A single moment suspended in time. Vivian looks at Edward, her eyes holding every answer, every question, every hope. Edward waits, breath caught, his future hanging on the curve of her lips. The storm rages around them, but in this moment, nothing else exists. And just when the audience leans forward, waiting for the resolution, the trailer cuts. A black screen. A single line in glowing letters. Some love stories never end. The music returns, softer now, hauntingly familiar, a slowed echo of the song that once defined their love. The laughter of Julia Roberts, faint but unmistakable, lingers in the background, like a memory breaking through the silence. Then the final reveal, Pretty Woman to Coming 2025.